Hey, Justice Warriors. I hope that some of you can be here with me tonight. So far, it doesn't look like I've got anybody live, but if you're here and would like to just say hi, then I know that you can hear me and things are working. I was just going to do a short live. I'm actually going to be in a live with Watts the Obsession later tonight, and we're going to be discussing the Watts case. I wanted to come on here to talk about a few things that are bothering me with the Moscow 4. So, let me first start out with my spiel. Everything I say is my opinion only, and it is purely for the sake of conversation. Hey, Susan Dodge. Thanks for saying hi. So I know you can hear me. So we do have sound. Check, check. Um, Everything I say is simply my opinion. It's simply for the sake of conversation, hopefully to open up a discussion, possibly entertaining, but more geared towards education. So I make my videos specifically for YouTube, and YouTube is an entertainment platform. So I always like to encompass that. And we got 4 guests already. Sherry, hi, sweet lady. Hope you're having a good Saturday evening. Squirrely Burger, hello, Lady Justice. Fred says, hi, young lady. Pixie Knickers, good evening, Jazz and chat. Well, I am so happy. We've got half a dozen already. Kitty Teddy, that's a cute name. Hi. So, I try to be positive. I really do. I don't know if you guys have been looking at some of my community posts, but I've put up some really lovely pictures of Ethan and his triplet siblings. He's got a sister and a brother. And, just trying to honor these victims. The whole thing is so tragic, so gruesome. And in my perspective, it just keeps going from bad to worse. And I hate to say that. Like I said, I like to keep things positive. Squirrely Burger says, I just heard the scariest thing. They found a human male human heart in a salt container in Tennessee. Oh my goodness. Wow. Phew. So that's pretty gory. This case in Moscow is extremely gory. And I have a feeling that law enforcement has been trying to downplay that as much as they possibly can, because the truth of what had happened in that house is so unthinkable. So they're trying to act like it wasn't quite as savage as it was. I mean, obviously it had to be savage, right? I mean, you have 4 dead 20 and 21-year-olds. Unbelievable. Highly unlikely says 2:04 a.m. and you have my attention. Kitty Tatty says agree, and Sherry says agree. So yeah, just a few minutes after 9 on Saturday, December 17th, a week before Christmas. Maybe that's why I'm on here, because I just can't stop thinking about these families and Christmas, and it's a week away, and it doesn't look to me like the police are honing in. It looks to me like they're freaking clueless. And you know how I am. I do not like to criticize professionals that are doing their jobs. But when people are not being professional, when people are not doing their jobs, I think it's on all of us to say something. So Alistair Grant says yes, was going to KIP, and the notification came. So now I'm watching. So, I watched a couple of very concerning, let's see, this one with Mark Fuhrman was Jesse Walters was interviewing him on primetime a few days ago. Of course, most people are not Mark Fuhrman fans. He actually won me over for a minute when he had done a serious amount of work to get the Martha Moxley case re-examined and to get Michael Skakel arrested. Like 25 years after this 15-year-old Michael Skakel murdered his next door neighbor, Martha Moxley, who was also 15. I think it was in 1975. But I had paid attention to that case, and then Mark Fuhrman was trying to do better with his bad reputation. So he did a ton of good work on that case and got Michael Skakel arrested. And Michael Skakel's been in and out of prison for that homicide. But Mark Fuhrman, I just can't. I just can't. So here he was on this interview with Jesse Walters on Primetime. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. I'm wondering about the cops in America. Surely they can't be this bad. Yeah, exactly. When the love came up, I immediately thought of Mark Fuhrman. Sherry, I'm sure you and everyone, I knew that Mark Fuhrman had moved to Idaho after everything fell apart for him in Los Angeles because I read his book and he spoke to that. So as soon as this happened, I thought, oh, goodness gracious, Mark Fuhrman's going to be on it. He's going to screw everything up. I don't think anyone's going to let him near it, honestly, but I don't know that anybody can screw it up worse than it is. Yeah. Hey, Phantasmic Ether. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So there were a couple of quotes that I have that you guys might get a kick out of. I mean, Mark Fuhrman on Fox News and Jesse Walters was interviewing him on Primetime. And they're talking about this case. And Mark Fuhrman, literally, I wrote this down word for word. This is a direct quote. He said, in big cities, this happens all the time, but you never hear about it. He was talking about quadruple homicides. Okay, I'm very, very well informed about homicides in general. And you rarely have even a double homicide. They're very, very rare, even in big, big cities. So for him to say, in big cities, this happens all the time, but you never hear about it, I was just blown away. I was like, this guy does not know what the fuck he's talking about. That's insane. No, there are not quadruple homicides every day. There are rarely even double homicides. I'm telling you, I've done a lot of research on the matter. Most homicides are individual, obviously. And when it's a woman that's been murdered, more often than not, it's domestic violence. So here we have 3 women and 1 male. Quadruple homicide. No, it doesn't happen all the time in big cities or anywhere. It's extremely rare, even in, say, Miami, Florida, right? That's a pretty violent place. So the other things that bothered me about Mark Fuhrman was he was so freaking complimentary towards the law enforcement. It was like bootlicking completely. I mean, maybe he's trying to get hired or something, right? Trying to get a contract. So he said something like, it takes a long time to catch a serial killer. He said that. It takes a long time to catch a serial killer. And then he stated right after that he didn't think this was a serial killer. And Jesse Walters, interviewing him, asked him something about a dog being filleted nearby. And you guys, I had not heard about the dog being filleted nearby. I, of course, have heard about the dog that was skinned. I believe that was 3 weeks earlier. And I believe it was maybe 2 miles away, maybe even 3 miles away, but not that far, allegedly kind of just like straight down a road. So, if that's a country road, that's not very far, 2 to 3 miles. But, right in town, that's, it's different. Anyway, so when he was asked about the dog being filleted by Jesse Walters, he absolutely would not answer. And I'm just like, okay, so there was a dog filleted and Mark Fuhrman's not even going to answer, not even going to address it. So that was weird. Anyway, that's pretty much all of what I wanted to share about that ridiculous interview. So yeah, allegedly there was a dog filleted like a fish in a neighborhood close to the same time as these murders. So if you guys have heard about that, let me know in the chat. I'll read up on where we're at here. Thank you for coming on. Oh, you're so welcome, Patty. Thank you so much for being here. Kitty Tatty says, I worked in a funeral home. Definitely don't happen. Right. I think you mean like the quadruple thing. Yeah. Mark, wake up. I mean, the OJ Simpson, that was a double homicide in Los Angeles. And that brought so much attention because even in Los Angeles, you rarely have a double homicide. And obviously, there's a ton of homicide in LA. I mean, like New York. Um, Merry Christmas, Justice Jane. Fred Field says, the same thought came to me. It's not unusual to have 4 to 6 shot incident in Chicagoland several times a week, but usually 1 to 2 are unalived. Right. And I mean, when you've got these like open shooters, that's kind of a different type of event. Where like in Miami, what you had like 49 at the Pulse, or at that Vegas situation, there was roughly around that same number. Those open shooter situations are different. I mean, and I don't want to say rare. I wish they were rare, but they're a lot less common. Unfortunately, they've become all too common. The dog that was skinned and filleted on the other side, poor buddy. So Busted Flush, the dog that was skinned, I did not think that dog was filleted. I thought that dog simply had its fur taken off in a very like taxidermy type of way, where it was like a real clean slit at the neck and the legs, that they took its pelt. I've read up on that, so I don't know that dog was filleted. The interview that I read up on was an interview with the parents of the dog. I mean, it was just so disgusting. So I don't know if that was the dog that was filleted. I thought I had heard that there were other dogs getting unalived. Same incident, Busted Flush says. Okay, all right, thanks. Diane says, did you see, no, the dog was in the empty room? Right. The dog, Murphy, was put into Kaylee's room during the homicide, apparently, and then was in there for a very long time until they found him the next day. Sherry said, whoever did that to the poor dog needs to be brought to justice for cruelty to animals completely. And it's so frightening because serial killers start with animals often. Pixie Knickers says Jack the Ripper. Oh my goodness, I had not even thought about all the Jacks and that. Oh my goodness, wow. Lynn says, so sick, so sad. And Busted Flush says, that is correct, but the other side was filleted. The other incidents were dead coyotes. And Kitty Tatty says, what about all these animals found around the houses, dead animals or something? Oh, thank you, Trail Shade. The Pulse was in Orlando, not Miami. Good correction. Yeah, I was just kind of tossing some things out there without checking my facts. So I appreciate that. It's good to be specific and accurate. So, oh my goodness, let's see. And Orlando, I'm sure, is not as violent as Miami. I mean, Florida's crazy. My sister lives in Florida. It's just nuts down there. So Bethany and Dylan being asleep in the house, there's a lot of talk about that, a lot of suspicion. I'm curious what you guys think. I don't have much suspicion about them. I understand why people would. And of course, it's good to look into things and leave no stone unturned. But this killer, it sounds very likely that they came in on the second floor, the kitchen, sliding glass doors that you can see on the balcony or under the balcony, because the balcony is Kaylee's room right above. So I think the theory is that the killer or killers came into that kitchen, walked up the stairs up to the third floor, put the dog in the room, killed the two upstairs, and then came down, maybe bumped into Ethan, and then committed another double homicide before leaving. So, that's a possibility. That seems like the most likely scenario. It could be that he or the people that went in there to commit the homicides were planning to do 6 homicides. It could be, and that Ethan was awake and confronted somebody, and so they had to switch up the plan. Trail Shade says you were so welcome, and Fred Field says Christina Grimmie was unalived the same weekend as the Pulse. Such a talent lost at such a young age, like Kylie. Oh, I'm not familiar with Christina Grimmie. Maybe I'll look that up, Fred Field, if you want to share more about that. Allegedly, hello everyone in chat, and hello Justice and Larissa. Oh my goodness, you're here. That's so cool. That is so awesome, Larissa. Thank you for being here. And Kitty Tatty says, I lived in a communal house. I always woke up when I heard the slightest noise. Find it hard they didn't hear. Chrissy C says, hey, Jazz. Hey. So, you bring up a good point, Kitty Tatty, about the not waking up. I haven't heard a lot of people speak about this, and I think I've mentioned it once. And I got an opinion from a professional who actually came up with it on their own in relationship to this case. And for me, that was very interesting that he came up with it, which is the idea that perhaps the killer roofied the victims before he killed them. So perhaps they were asleep and drunk, and he was able to slip them a roofie. Personally, I don't know how that would be done. I don't know if you could put liquid in somebody's mouth or a pill, but it was something that I had wondered about. And then to hear this law enforcement professional pull that out right away, I thought was extremely interesting. So that might be something, because when you think about it, with the 2 young women in the bed, with one of them getting attacked, it seems so likely that the other one would wake up no matter how drunk or how passed out they were, unless they were roofied, in my opinion. So let's see what else we got going on here. She was a very talented singer. There was a runner up on The Voice that was just starting to gain traction in the industry. And was it a stalker situation? So I want to talk about the stalker situation. Did you find my links in my community tab? Oh, I have not yet, allegedly. I will check them out. You can reach out to me on any platform of your choosing. Cool. I am email pretty much, and private message. I'm not down yet with like Twitter and Snapchat or all these other cool things that the kids are doing. I'm like old school. So I will do my best. I will email. I have been so busy, but I'll get to it tonight. Oh, you're talking, Melissa. Okay, cool. Awesome. And so let me get into, what was it that I just said I wanted to talk about? Sorry, brain, no worky. This is why I usually do my things in the morning. Brain works a lot better, but I am gonna remember what it was. I have a hard time on YouTube, but TikTok, I'm huge on there. That's what I thought, Larissa. Yeah, I've never tried the TikTok. But yeah, I know your channel on YouTube is real small, but you're obviously extremely skilled. And I just love hearing you talk, man. You just like put it out there and you're on it. The way you would break down with the Kylie Rodney case, I just thought you were so spot on. And yeah, that Kylie Rodney case is really kicking up a lot right now. CNY did a live on it tonight, which was nice. Instagram and TikTok messages work easy for most. Yeah, I need to learn Instagram. My kids can teach me. They're all, of course, doing that stuff. So what was it that I wanted to talk about with, I said I'm going to talk about that in a second, and then I didn't, so now it's gone. And my pen fell on the ground. I can't really pick it up. So one of the things that's really bothering me about this case is the police saying that they're widening their search. You guys have heard this over the last day or two. They're saying that they're widening their search. They're widening the miles. They're widening the 24 hours before, the 24 hours after. That just seems crazy to me. That just seems insane. To me, that tells me they don't got nothing. That scares me. Straight up scares me. Oh, Larissa, that's so nice. I love your views too and how you support so many people. I am so into supporting all of the creators because, we're all doing this together. We all are, feeding off of each other in a really positive way. We're bouncing ideas off of each other. We're crowdsourcing. And we get so much done when we're crowdsourcing. It's phenomenal. I love it. Oh, you were discussing the dog when I came in, right? And what live right now? Hello, Jay. Oh, thank you. You did it. You got me on track, Lily64, wanting to talk about stalkers. So, yes, I've seen the interview with the guy that worked at the vape shop who spoke very specifically to an interaction that he had with Maddie and Kaylee and a couple of their friends, or a handful of their friends. They all came into the vape shop together, and he said something like, "Oh, you guys travel in crowds." And Maddie said, "Yeah, well, one of our friends had a stalker issue," and she kind of motioned towards Kaylee. And there was some information shared there, like that it happened more at night and that it happened more downtown, but that it sounded like it was really specific, a stalker, a certain stalker. And I have not been able to get off of this idea that Jack was the stalker, that her ex-boyfriend was stalking her, and that law enforcement and the family keep going back and forth with the yes, she had a stalker, no, she didn't have a stalker, because they're not considering the ex-boyfriend a stalker, is my concern. I don't know that for fact. Okay, that's my opinion. So let me read a few of these. Thank you so much, Lily64, for getting me back on that. That was awesome. Yes, a crazy stalker fan who wanted her for himself, lost weight, minor cosmetic surgery, waiting in line, and pulled out a gun. Oh my goodness, that is so freaking terrible. What gets me about the police at the moment is how there are no clues. Right. They are freaking clueless. So apparently, there's some language for a bill that is being drafted that will require the U.S. Bureau of Investigation to investigate crime scenes instead of police departments without the proper resources. Well, what a fucking phenomenal idea. I'm glad that they're working on that. You would think that that would kind of be already done. Holy smokes, man. Okay. So allegedly I said that the last live about them having nothing, the white car, the video from outside that would already let them know because of the video inside the store. I think this was to keep us busy. Absolutely. And now, like at first they were saying, well, we just want to talk to the person in the white car in case they saw something. And it seems like now they've kind of changed it to, oh yeah, the killer is in the white car. We got to find the killer. We got to find the white car. Oh, but now we're having to go through 22,000 freaking white Hyundai Elantras, Hyundai, however you say it. Like, oh, you poor cops, 20. I'm like, what the? Like, they're getting themselves further away. The vape shop story sounds fake to me. That was more filmed after they mentioned all over the news about the buddy system and also mentioned the stalker. I think his story was fake. Well, allegedly, I really respect your opinion. Hear you talk and you sound like you know what you're talking about. I'd not even considered that. I'm so gullible sometimes. The guy seemed genuine to me. So, you're probably better at ferreting out that kind of thing. But Larissa says, with the way that they died, how is there no fingerprints, no footprints, not any tracks at all? How do they not have an idea? Right. Our cell phones record us. Like right now, my cell phone's recording me, right? They all had cell phones. They probably had Apple Watches. They probably had like Alexa or Siri or something like that. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I know that was one of the main complaints Steve Gonzalez had, was that he said that this police department was ridiculously in the Stone Ages when it came to electronic data. And that is scary. Absolutely scary. And allegedly says, I have said that from the moment they had news cameras on the scene. Where is the exit trail? Right. And then this pisses me off more than anything. The police saying that everybody can go home from college before they figure out who they need to interview. That was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard in my life. In my opinion, what they should have done is put everybody on kind of like a lockdown, stay at home kind of safety order, and tried to figure out who they needed to talk to, and then said everybody can go home. I don't know, just my opinion. I'm not the police, obviously. Um, I have said that. Okay. And then she was 21, 22. Yeah, that is, it's just so ridiculous to have these people like they're babies. They're just about to start their lives. I mean, barely, barely, barely. And Fred and allegedly are saying hi to each other. What an unexpected pleasure to find you on. Well, what an unexpected pleasure to find all of you guys here to join me, because I didn't know how this was going to go, but I really wanted to get these things out there. I do need to wrap up shortly because I told Kelly that I would be in her live. So let's see what else. Allegedly says all real stories would have been told to the news within the first 2 days, not a week later. Memory isn't solid and outside influence alters stories. That is such a good point, allegedly. Thank you for sharing that brilliant insight. And Larissa says, allegedly, you are so right. And Larissa, man, I know you got the street smarts, girl. You are killing it. No pun intended. Alistair Grant says, was the crime scene not contaminated before the cops got there, as the other roommates phoned friends first, hence no tracks? Right. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with phoning the friends first is weird unless they just said, hey, come over for brunch. You know, they hadn't seen anything yet. And then one of them went upstairs, saw something. I went over this a couple days ago. That one maybe went outside and passed out from what they saw, and then people came to them and called 911 to get help for the unconscious person that wasn't one of the murdered people. It was one of the roommates that saw one of the murdered people. That's kind of a scenario that has been sketched out by Harsh and some other people that to me seems extremely likely. The longer the people take to come out, the less credible they look. That's a really good point, you guys. They should have requested a lockdown because you could luminol and blacklight people's hands for blood stains. Instead, they said go. It's crazy. Like them saying go to me just seems like complete ignorance. But this is why I got on. What I wanted to talk about is my concern, what I put up on my community post today about, is it incompetence or is it corruption? Are they protecting somebody? I do not want to be thinking that, but it's something I've been wondering more and more. Are they protecting somebody? Um, Diane says, watch Jiff takes 100 meters to walk there from the party. Did you see Harsh talking about Adam? I keep up with all my Harsh, and I'm not sure who Adam is. So I think I've seen everything up until, I don't think he put anything out today after I saw two of his from today. So I can't think of who Adam is. I think it was someone very familiar with them. I think that there was one specific target, but I feel like that maybe the first victim got the adrenaline going and the thrill going, and then it turned into way more than it was supposed to be. Right. Yeah, I agree. Is Dupont a real last name? Because I looked the name up and came across a quintet of the same name in France, Jacques Dupont. Don't know, not familiar. What Justice says could be true as well. I'm still going with serial killer. Um, and Fred says, no Sammy here, however. Oh my goodness. Are you all coming to Kelly's live, Justice A to Z? Which Kelly? Is it Watts the Obsession Kelly? Yes, it is. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. Please hit the like button. Consider subscribing and sharing if you feel so inclined. That is so much appreciated. Okay, he had a third video mentions Adam. Oh, okay, I might have missed one later in the afternoon because I saw one sometime around 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock my East Coast time. Larissa, I can't see serial killer because I don't see a string of people dying in the same way unless there's more we don't know. Um, Monique Cole says music group. And yes, about the new audio, right? Okay. Jack D has a roommate named Adam, I believe. Okay, thank you, Trail Shade. That's very helpful. Adam Lou of uh, Buha ID, maybe Jack D, present or former roommate. I don't think they're protecting someone, but rather the college reputation and the local economy. A lot of pressure there. Norm, that is absolutely the way every murder investigation goes, in my opinion, is that it's not solved for the best interest of the victim or the victim's family, that it's solved for the best interest of the economy. It took me a little to wrap my mind around that when I first started to learn about these things, but that is truly what is at play in pretty much any, especially high profile homicides. Two profilers make me think it is one from past case and then the other for this case. Yeah, I am really, really convinced that it's domestic violence. I am super convinced that it's domestic violence. Um, but that's just my opinion. And Squirrely Burger says, did you hear the take of the San Quentin's death row inmate putting out a statement on his thoughts of the murder? I did, Squirrely Burger. I thought it was fascinating. I listened to that right before I came on. So this San Quentin death row inmate is convinced, and I think he has a really good insight and a good argument, that the killer was hiding inside the house before they got home. I think that's a really astute possibility. It was Waxes, the one with blood. It waxes the one with blood. Just an hour or so ago, the Adam name mentioned. Okay, I'll check that out. And allegedly says so many variables with so little information about deaths. If we knew a little more, I bet we'd crack this or maybe close. And Sandy says, in my opinion, law enforcement onto killers' movements, AEB expanding search to Kendrick and Troy. Well, I sure hope so. I am not feeling a lot of hope for these law enforcement officials. And Larissa says DV is a huge possibility. It's not uncommon at all for it to end fatally. Right. And there is a lot of domestic violence hints in the posts of Jack and Kaylee, in my opinion. Um, he seemed very controlling, very critical, and just weird. It seems like there was a lot of weirdness. Like I don't know if you guys know this. I mentioned this in the last 24 hours that she currently had him blocked off of all of her social media at the time of her murder. And in their 5-year relationship, it was not at all uncommon for her to have him blocked for long periods of time. And then for me, looking at the kinds of things that he comments, it's like, well, yeah. I mean, I'm just amazed she didn't delete his ridiculous comments. I mean, he sounds like a freaking lowlife, in my humble opinion. I don't give much to that. He's just relaying the Darrell Jean Delver profile. His crimes are his point of view. Obviously, he wasn't good at crime because he's on death row. Oh, allegedly, you're cracking me up. Fred Field says, like Brian Laundrie. Exactly. I see Brian Laundrie. I see Chris Watts. I see Scott Peterson in a lot of what's going on with that relationship and with JD. So, I don't want to be accusing anybody if they're innocent, of course. But I think that you need to be careful. Like, you need to call a spade a spade. And if you have reason to suspect somebody, it's reasonable to voice that opinion. It's reasonable to ask questions. And the fear of insulting somebody or slandering somebody If you have reason to believe it's true, it is not slander. It is absolutely not slander for you to have an opinion based on information that you believe is true. It is slander when you make crap up to tarnish someone's reputation. That's what slander is. Allegedly could speak more to that. He's an attorney, right? So let's see. I can definitely judge that because I've been in domestic violence. I know the patterns, what happens, it gets bad and scary. Larissa, I saw the things you posted a few days ago and my heart just breaks for you. I am so glad that you got out of there safe and that your kid got out of there safe. And I'm so glad you put those posts up. I mean, it's hard for people to see it, but people need to see it. So you guys, please check out Larissa's channel, her YouTube channel. I don't even know how to check people out on TikTok. I'm embarrassed to say that, but she's more of a TikTok rock star. But she's got a good channel. She's got just like 300 subs. And if you guys want to go over there and check her out, especially if you're interested in the Kylie Rodney case. She really is sharp on that Kylie Rodney case. And we need to get back into that Kylie Rodney case because hopefully there's going to be a lot more movement there. We will see. DV can also be about E and X killed himself too. Stalking is huge. When you leave them, they know where you are. And even if you don't think so, absolutely. They prey on you. Absolutely. So you guys, I do want to wrap up so I can go over to Kelly's What's the Obsessions panel with the Watts case, which is obviously another horrendous domestic violence with pregnant mother and the two little toddlers. I mean, what a gory freak show. And that was 4 people, but those were what they call soft kills. The thing with this quadruple homicide in Moscow is the last thing you could call it is a soft kill. I mean, it could hardly be more violent and gory. Hardly. Allegedly says, I just know that if all these guys everyone is giving out information about aren't guilty, they were blah, blah, blah. They will forever live with everyone knowing people called them a murderer. Right. And yeah, I think that there is way too much of that. In my opinion, I could say again who I think. You guys don't need me to say it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do bring up questions. But yeah, I think it's wrong. Like the Jeremy guy and the harsh chef guy, these are just people that are coming out to talk just to get some attention. And yeah, they're weird, but I don't think it makes them look guilty. But of course, you got to look into it from a law enforcement perspective, right? Because we all know that the murderers like to see their work. So that brings me to another point, which is that front door being left open at the murder house. It's just a thought. I wonder if the murderer did that to draw attention to the house because he was excited to see the activity and the action going down the next day. It's just a thought. So yeah, allegedly says, see you there. And Mark Molina says, hey, Larissa. Let's see. I discovered her videos when watching Kylie videos and saw her personal videos and knew she was a strong one. I know. And it was so cute. Like the first video I saw of Larissa, she's like outside with, I think maybe a baby and maybe a toddler. I'm not sure. Definitely a baby. But you were so cute with the baby and how you were able to talk to the camera and address the baby when the baby needed something. I just thought that was phenomenal because that's hard to do. It is really hard to do. We're following you. You going over to Watts the Obsession live? Yes, we're headed over there, you guys. We're going to wrap it up. When people said the dad did it, that made me so mad. Oh, man, I was freaking pissed as shit when that was a professional that said that. That was ridiculous. Absolutely insane. Love watching you, Justice, saying hello from Ohio. And yes, I'm in Ohio too. Red Bull and my baby, right? Your mommy juice. I thought that was adorable too. That was hilarious. What the heck is going on with the Saturday Night Live? with the eyes. And I'm sitting on my bed. I don't know if you guys can see the jiggling of the laptop, but when I move around a little bit. Um, so let me see if there was anything I needed to throw in here before we turn this off, and I'll go over to Watts the Obsession. Oh, yes, this is what I wanted to say. Um, that coroner, okay? The coroner with these four, and I don't have her name handy, I don't think. So she's a lawyer too, allegedly might know her name. Anyway, she was the coroner on the homicide 15 years ago. She was the coroner, and then she was the defendant's defense attorney. And that guy who got arrested, and I thought I had his name right here, but maybe not. The guy who got arrested for stabbing like his wife, himself, and maybe hitting the 15-year-old a week after the quadruple homicide. So yeah, I got his name right here. James Curtis Leonard is the guy who killed Tyler Lee Pace in Moscow 15 years ago. So that coroner did the autopsy for Tyler Lee Pace, and then she was James Curtis Leonard's defense attorney. That is the most effed up conflict of interest I've ever heard of in my freaking life. And I did mention that in my last video. So let me read a couple of these and then get to the wrapping up part. When people said the dad did it, okay, we got that. And that's the first one I watched. Too Many Lives Creators, Clown Coroner. Ugh. And then when she called the family, when she called Kaylee's family, and it was Kaylee's 17-year-old sister that answered the phone, and the coroner said, well, I wanted to talk to one of the grown-ups or the adults. Do you really want to hear this? And the 17-year-old said, yes, I do. And then, of course, was traumatized and scarred for life, I'm sure. And it is messed up. I mean, that was a very poor judgment call on the coroner's part. That's ridiculous. I mean, the girl's a minor. She's 17. Maybe the coroner didn't ask her how old she was, but I want to say this. I'm glad I didn't hang up the phone with you guys before saying that's not the kind of thing you talk about over the phone. That coroner should have had the family come in face to face to discuss some of those details. Absolutely. That is not the kind of thing you talk about over the phone. That is 100% unprofessional. I would think that you guys would all agree with me on that. That's just my opinion. Holy crap, man. So, Kaylee was so vivacious. All these beautiful people that were murdered were just so bubbly and adorable and bright. I mean, their futures couldn't have been brighter. Their lives were like, from the outside looking in, they had it all. They had it all. And in the blink of an eye, 10 minutes, everything's turned upside down and dark. It's just so sad. So on that, let's start to wrap up so we can all head over to Watts the Obsession. She usually starts late, so hopefully we'll be right on time. It's 9:46, and she said she was going to start at 9:30, and we'll meet up over there. So you guys, thanks again for joining me. I love you. I send all of you love and light. And I would like to ask for a prayer of love and light for all of these victims and their families. And I mean, I'm hoping for a miracle. They've got to get this case under control before Christmas. Please, please, please. It's so awful. It's always the ones that have the most going for them. Jealousy is a deadly thing. Spot on right there. And thank you for saying that, Larissa. That's like a big bullseye. Bingo. Yes. Jealousy, I think, absolutely. With this case, with the Watts case, with so many cases, jealousy is absolutely evil. Absolutely. Especially when people act on it like that. I mean, honestly, if I'm jealous of somebody, I try to turn that into something positive. I try to, if there's something about them that draws me in, I try to highlight that. I try to not be competitive, but be appreciative that they have something so cool. I mean, it's I'm not saying that I'm not a competitive person because I definitely have that, but I have learned, like with artists, to appreciate their art and rather than try to compete with them, just enjoy that we all have a different voice. We all have something unique to contribute. So, on that, I'm going to say peace out, you guys. Have a really good night. Let's try to all head over to Watts, The Obsession. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for saying that, Phantasmic Ether. That's really sweet. And yeah, Alistair Grant, exactly. Rejection as well. So we'll see you at the Watts if you guys want to join in. I think I'm going to be on panel, and um, my role, my routine is eat healthy, drink your water, get your exercise, get your rest, be super kind to yourself and others, and don't let anybody give you crap because people will try, right? I mean, people can be really messed up, and especially at this time of the year, the holidays can add a lot of stress. So all right, Pixie Knickers, thank you. Hit the like button on the way out if you feel so inclined. And thanks again. Love to you guys. I'll see you at Watts, and then maybe I'll see you on a live tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Monday morning. So take care. Sweet dreams. See you then.